discovery at Al Balid Archaeological Park in the Wilaya of Salalah in the Governorate of Dhofar is revealed. The second Environment Forum in Duqm calls to reduce carbon emissions and achieve zero neutrality. Good evening once again, and thank you for joining us. Those were the headlines, and now the news in detail. A symposium was organized today under the title The Omani Space Sector Future Directions and Investments Opportunities by the Minister of Transport, Communications and Information Technology. More details coming up in this report by Ahmed Al-Busaidi.
In order to develop, unite existing efforts in the space sector and to take this initiative forward, Ministry of Transport, Communications and Information Technology organized a symposium under the title Omani Space Sector, Future Directions and Investment Opportunities. This symposium came under the auspices of His Excellency Dr. Mohammed bin Nasser al-Zaabi, Secretary General of the Ministry of Defense.
Center for Space and Advanced Technologies. The National Center has been studying the opportunities in space with many stakeholders in the Sultanate and with the help of expertise from outside the country. The results were basically pointers to focus on the downstream part of the space economy, which is about 90% of the overall world participation in the space industry. We think there is a lot of niche projects that the Sultanate can work on, and as a result you saw the offer of some opportunities to the private sector. So two of these were actually signed today. We think there's about at least another 5 to 10 this year that will be offered to the market. The opportunities that presents themselves are to do with the data analytics, to do with also the data centers connection with space, to do with also launching. That is for both amateurs and for the industry.
The existing efforts in the Omani space sector include various governmental bodies all co-work to ensure that the Sultanate of Oman is ranked in a respected position in the space sector due to its strategic location to be a scientific rocket launch platform.
NASCOM is the National Aerospace Services Company. Was founded in 2021 as the first Omani company dedicated to testing and designing the fundamental components for space exploration. Regarding the launch facility in Al Duqm, why did we choose Al Duqm? It's because internationally verified studies have identified Duqm as the top five most efficient launch locations in the world. And so we see this as a national asset that must be developed, and it will become more and more important over the next 20 years to have developed a facility such as a launch center.
On the course of this symposium, 2 agreements were signed. The first was between the Ministry of Transport, Communications and Information Technology with the Ministry of Housing and Urban Planning and the National Aerospace Services Company, NASCOM, which entitled a usufruct for the scientific space rocket launch platform project and the development of a scientific environment for experiments and studies in this aspect.
Oman LNG is proud to be partnering with the government organization in corporate social responsibility. This project comes directly in line with Oman LNG CSR activity and CSR strategy, namely the pillar related to the innovation, knowledge and technology. Hopefully we can continue this partnership with the government in making and funding projects that serve the community and the nation at large.
while the second was between the Ministry of Transport, Communications and Information Technology, as well as the Ministry of Culture, Sports and Youth and Oman LNG Company to establish a special corner for space science and technology in the Children's Museum, which simulates the virtual reality of a spacecraft. It's worthy of mention that all those efforts head in the direction of Oman 2040 vision and the Digital Economy Programme to raise awareness on the various national investment opportunities in the space sector. This symposium that comes on the Omani space sector only indicates the importance of investing in this field as the global trend, and also to prepare the national cadres to do their sacred duties. For Oman TV, Ahmed bin Hilal al-Busaidi, Muscat.
His Excellency Sayyid Badr bin Hamad al-Busaidi, the Foreign Minister, received His Excellency Dr. Thani bin Ahmed Zayudi, Minister of State for Foreign Trade of the United Arab Emirates, as part of his visit to the Sultanate of Oman. During the meeting, they discussed aspects of bilateral cooperation in the fields of trade and investments cooperation and economic diversification, and emphasized the keenness and interest the leadership of the two brotherly countries attach to strengthening Omani Emirati relations in various fields. The Minister of Commerce, Industry and Investments Promotion organized in Muscat a workshop to discuss the economic partnerships with the world countries and partnership agreement between the Sultanate of Oman and United Arab Emirates. During the workshop, experiences of the United Arab Emirates with the world were reviewed, which contributed in enhancing business environment and open new markets, as well as enhance the use of technology in the United Arab Emirates economy. From the Omani side, the workshop was attended by His Excellency Qais bin Mohammed Al Yusuf, Minister of Commerce, Industry and Investments Promotion, His Excellency Sultan bin Salim Al Habsi, Minister of Finance, and His Excellency Dr. Saeed bin Mohammed Al Sakhri, Minister of Economy. While from the Emirati side, it was attended by His Excellency Dr. Thani bin Ahmed Zayudi, Minister of State for Foreign Trade of the United Arab Emirates, and the delegation accompanying him. His Excellency Faisal bin Abdullah Rawas, Chairman of the Board of Directors of the Oman Chamber for Commerce and Industry, and His Excellency Dr. Thani bin Ahmed Zayudi, Minister of State for Foreign Trade in the United Arab Emirates, discussed growing and developing the business sector and enhancing trade exchange between the Sultanate of Oman and the United Arab Emirates. The meeting also dealt with ways to develop trade and economic relations between the two countries and mechanisms to diversify and enhance common interests between the two sides, and focused on the investment sector and mechanisms for exploiting joint investment opportunities between the two countries. The two sides also discussed enhancing business owners to establish commercial partnership between the two sides to develop the economic and development sector between the two countries. Within the framework of the Omani military relations with a number of countries in various military fields, especially training ones, the additional appendix to the Omani-British Joint Defence Agreement concluded between the two sides was signed at the Ministry of Defence. The agreement was signed on the Omani side by His Excellency Dr. Mohammed bin Nasser al-Zaabi, Secretary General at the Ministry of Defence, while James Goldman, Charge d'Affaires of the UK Embassy in Muscat, signed it on the British side. Major General Hamid bin Ahmed Sakroon, Chairman of the Academy of Strategic and Defense Studies, received in his office in Beit el-Falij camp a delegation from the Command and Staff College in the Hashemite Kingdom of Jordan, headed by Brigadier General Ali Abdul Qadir Abdul Hafidh al-Matar, who is currently visiting the Sultanate of Oman. The two sides exchanged talks on a number of common academic and training issues. The meeting was attended by Air Commodore Ahmed bin Mohammed al-Mashaykhi, Commandant of the Joint Command and Staff College at the Academy of Strategic and Defense Studies. Coinciding with the Sultanate of Oman celebrations of the Omani Environment Day, the Duqm Special Economic Zone Department organized the second Environment Forum Together to Reduce Our Carbon Footprint in Duqm. The forum was attended by a group of lecturers and specialists from the authorities concerned with climate change and reducing carbon emissions. The forum suggested mechanisms and programs for carbon management and reducing risks of climate change in order to achieve zero carbon neutrality. The forum attracted lecturers and specialists on climate change and carbon emissions. During the forum, they focused on the main challenges facing the environment and climate change. It's worth mentioning that the area of clean energy in Duqm reached 250 square kilometers. This reflects Sultanate of Oman approach towards achieving zero carbon neutrality. The Minister of Heritage and Tourism, in cooperation with Italian missions specialized in Islamic architecture, revealed a new archaeological discovery at Al Balid Archaeological Park in the Wilaya of Salalah in the Governorate of Dhofar. Due to the historical importance of Al Balid Archaeological Park and its significant role to boost tourism movement in the Governorate, the Minister of Heritage and Tourism continues survey and excavation works in order to figure out the secrets of the park. Al Balid Park consisted of 4 settlements dating back to the periods from 500 to 1700 BC. The new discovery was an ancient mosque with unique architectural design and engravings. The Italian mission works on making 3D design for the mosques. Among discoveries were women accessories in addition to pottery products, and that date back to 17 BC. It's worth mentioning that Al Balid Archaeological Park and Land of Frankincense Museum receive over 20,000 tourists annually, and it's one of the sites enlisted in the World Heritage List. You're watching the Sultanate of Oman television, and later to come in our news bulletin, Sultanate of Oman participates in the celebration of the Arab Literacy Day. Welcome back to the news from the Sultanate of Oman television. The latest weather updates and analysis of the National Multi-Hazard Early Warning Center indicated that the northern governorates of the Sultanate of Oman will be affected by a trough of an air depression starting tomorrow, Tuesday, and continuing until next Thursday. Chances of clouds advection and isolated rain and occasional thunder showers are expected over the governorates of Musandam, North Al-Batina and Al-Buremi. The impact is expected to gradually extend to cover the governorate of South Al-Batina, Masqat, Al-Dakhiliya and South Al-Sharqiya. Accumulation of isolated rainfall ranging from 10 to 60 millimeter may cause wadis to flow during Tuesday and Wednesday. Winds with a speed of 28 to 45 kilometers per hour. The sea state will be moderate to rough along Musandam and the coastal areas of the Sea of Oman, with a maximum wave height of ranging between 2 to 3 meters. Meanwhile, the Civil Aviation Authority calls on citizens and residents to exercise caution during weather conditions, to avoid venturing into the sea, and to keep following the latest weather updates issued by the authority. The Minister of Justice and Legal Affairs organized a workshop entitled Oil and Gas Law. The event held at Oman Convention and Exhibition Center under the auspices of His Excellency Dr. Yahya bin Nasser Al Khusaybi and the Secretary of the Ministry of Justice and Legal Affairs, in collaboration with the Omani British Lawyers Association. I was present at this particular event and I have this report. With the aim of developing and enriching the legal knowledge aspects of jurists and legal practitioners, the Ministry of Justice and Legal Affairs organized a workshop entitled Oil and Gas Law, held in cooperation with the Omani British Lawyers Association.
The oil and gas law is well established in Oman, and there's been a lot of new news about renewables and green energies, but it's clear that it's not going anywhere. So it's a great opportunity for different lawyers, students, and professionals from oil and gas companies as well as private practice to join together and share information and knowledge and form a community where expertise and know-how can be shared.
A number of working papers were presented on legal issues related to various types of oil and gas contracts, the most important legal issues regarding joint operating contracts, determining responsibilities and risks in oil and gas contracts, and other contemporary topics in the field of oil and gas. The workshop also included a panel discussions with department directors, legal entities in oil and gas companies in the Sultanate of Oman.
The main purpose behind an event like this is getting people together from the legal industry, from in-house, from government, from private practice, so we're all learning from each other. So that's what's behind it. We look at everything under the law, from production sharing agreements all the way down the line to decommissioning when an oil field has been completed. What are the legal implications? What are the documents that require to be prepared, be signed, etc. So it's across the board, all issues that are relevant really to the oil and gas industry.
Today I gave an overview of the oil and gas upstream industry, just starting out the search for recovery and production of oil and gas. And we have a lot of big Omani companies who work in that field that are here today with us, as well as people from the Ministry of Energy and Minerals as well as Ministry of Justice and Legal Affairs.
It's worth mentioning that this workshop comes within the framework of initiatives of the Ministry of Justice and Legal Affairs to boost legal awareness, developing legal skills in various fields through cooperation with international expertise in the Sultanate of Oman and exchange of experiences with the specialists in the field of law in the public and private sectors. The Sultanate of Oman participated in the celebrations of the Arab Literacy Day, which falls on the 8th of January every year. The Ministry of Education organized a ceremony to review its efforts in this field. The ministry has made efforts to eradicate illiteracy through strategies, projects and programs that have been activated for more than 4 decades. The number of schools cooperating in the field of literacy in the academic year 2022-2023 reached about 23 schools, and the number of villages reached 29 educated villages in all governorates of the Sultanate of Oman, while the total number of centers for literacy people is 318. The number of those registered in literacy classes in the past academic year 2022-2023 reached 2,623 students. The ceremony was presided over by Her Highness Sayyida Dr. Muna bint Fad Al Said, Assistant Vice Chancellor of Sultan Qaboos University for International Cooperation. Watching the Sultanate of Oman television, and before concluding this news bulletin, here are the main points once again. 2 agreements for the Scientific Space Rocket Launch Platform project and the establishment of a Space Science and Technology corner at the Children's Museum are signed. New archaeological discovery at Al Balid Archaeological Park in the Wilaya of Salalah in the Governorate of Dhafar is revealed. The second Environment Forum in Duqm calls to reduce carbon emissions and achieve zero neutrality. And with that, we do conclude this news bulletin brought to you live from this news center on the Sultanate of Oman television. From me and the entire news team, we thank you for joining us, wish you a pleasant evening and good night.